What is going on, everybody? It is your boy SoCal with the Sports Affiliation. We're going to get into some Week 6 NFL bets. We had sub home slice this past Thursday. You can go back to the YouTube, check that out, get the full episode, see our Google Docs, got everything that we've placed throughout the season that we've given out on the show via X, via the website, any plays that Iggy and myself have given, and you can see what else we gave out on Thursday for this weekend. But we're going to get into some different bets. We're going to pull up the odds. We're going to check out some stats, why I like those plays. May not get into every single game. Try to be quick. Try to touch on what I really like. Mention maybe some other things that I have some leans on, but let's get into it. It's week 6. We got an early game. We won't spend too much time on this because that game is not too long from now. Very early here on the West Coast at 6:30 a.m. But it is the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chicago Bears. Going to go ahead and pull that up here for you right now. We're going to look at it. So you pull that up here. We got Jags. We got Bears. Listen, real quick, I like the Bears in this game. I'm not impressed with the Jaguars. I think they will try to blitz and get after Caleb Williams, but we've seen the Jaguars just get torched offensively. Caleb Williams can sling the rock. It's the O-line that's the issue. I'm not sure where I like to go with the passing game overall, like with the receivers. I mean, I expect DJ Moore to have a big game. I think you'll see Odunze get a lot more targets in this one. I think they'll be able to throw the ball, right? Caleb's line was at 234.5. It's been up to 241.5. I think my favorite play here, though, is probably got to be DeAndre Swift and his receiving yards. His line is set here over 20.5 at negative 115. If you look at the last 3 games for DeAndre Swift, I mean, last 4, he's at 47, 72, 22, and 24. He's gone over this number. And we got to look at what the Jacksonville Jaguars have done against running backs, right? Pull this up here. We're going to just see this team has just been blasted by running backs in the passing game. 33 receptions in 5 games, 285 yards. DeAndre Swift has slow start for the Chicago Bear team, but he's come on strong the last few games. And like I said, the Jags will want to blitz this weak offensive line. Best way to offset that is a little bit of that screen game. And although I expect Williams to throw for a lot of yards, I expect deep shots to DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. I expect the ball to be spread around. I think getting the ball into Swift's hands, offsetting that blitz, making it better for Caleb to have those opportunities to get the ball down the field. So I am all over DeAndre Swift, over 20.5 yards on this play here. Other than that, like I said, I like the Bears. I wouldn't be opposed to going Trevor Lawrence under on his passing yards. I know last week was a great matchup against Indy. Bears have been a great matchup. Not really letting QBs throw the ball. I think it's a game where Brian Thomas, if you're playing fantasy, you're going to put him in your lineup. Christian Kirk, probably somebody you're going to find a way to fade in this game. I like Bigsby. You can run the ball against Chicago, but I'm not sure if Jacksonville will be in a position where they'll be able to run the ball. I think it's a negative game script for them, but Bigsby's only at 39.5 yards. ETN has missed some of the time because he was banged up. Do we see a lot more Bigsby because he's been successful? Is ETN more hurt than we've heard? Like Bigsby only 40 yards. I don't think that's a bad look. I'm not officially playing that because of the way I see this game going. But even in a negative game script early on, Jacksonville going to try to maintain the time of possession, try to hold on to the football, keep their defense off the field. So I think if Bigsby is the guy out there, 39.5, not a bad look at all there. Moving on from this game, let's check out the Colts and the Titans. I gave out a Will Levis play earlier. It is on the X timeline. It's Will Levis over 198.5 passing yards. Love that play. The Colts have just been so friendly to quarterbacks. I mentioned that. So we're already on top of that one. And in line with that, we're going to go Calvin Ridley in this play. Receivers have just absolutely torched the Colts. You've had Odunze, DJ Moore, the George Pickens game. The big game he had was against Indianapolis. You had Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, even Romeo Doubs had 62 yards with Malik Willis, who only threw for $122. And even with that buck 22, this Colts team still giving up over 1,400 yards to the air. I think you see Ridley get involved, right? They're coming off the bye. We already know Brian Callahan wants to use him. We've heard throughout this week, too, that they want to get him the ball. It's 47.5 yards is what Calvin Ridley is set at here. I think he easily goes over those 200 plus yards for Levis. They'll be spread around. I think the tight end matchup is good. Looking at a Okonkwo, not a bad draw. You know, over 1.5 catches for a Okonkwo, minus 185, super juice. You look at his yards, 16.5. I don't think those are bad plays at all. You've seen tight ends. I mean, the Colts are just getting torched all over the place in the passing game. I think D-Hop gets involved too, but they want to get Calvin Ridley the ball. Callahan had talked all offseason about that Jamar Chase type role, feeding him the ball. And like I said, we just watched these other receivers, guys like George Pickens who have struggled. Monster game, right? Kirk and Thomas together. So I think this is a great matchup for Ridley. Like I said, you look at the Colts here. If we look at wide receivers, I'll pull it up, guys. This is what I look at. I look at the overall stats, but I look at the matchups of all those games. I go back to see who they've played. I go back to see which matchups maybe skewed that, what low numbers, what high numbers, right? And like with the Will Levis play, I mean, Malik Willis only had 122 yards. So outside of those games, right, the Jaguars giving up a ton of yards in the other four. Fields, Lawrence, over 300 plus, right, in both those matchups. And so, yeah, I think you're just going to see Will Levis have some success in this game. And I think they're going to be able to run the football too. But looking at wide receivers, looking at yards, look at that. Jags are number one, right? 1,052 yards in 5 games. Second in receptions. They're going to get thrown on. Their run defense is a little bit better. I'm sorry. We're talking about the Jags here on that one. I apologize. Colts, there we go. 901, 5th most yards. Sorry, I got confused there on the Jags a little bit. Anyway, the point is the Colts get thrown on big time. This is a Calvin Ridley game, over 47.5. And when you look at the ground game, we'll pull that up too, because I do like Tony Pollard. He clearly is the guy in this offense. They are using him more. You'll see Tajay Spears come in and spell him, but this is Pollard's offense. They like to feed him. He had 20 plus carries last week. The week before was just an awful game against Miami. But overall, the Colts, they can't stop anybody on the ground either. You look at the rushing yards here, 595. It's the 5th most in the NFL. Tony Pollard is going to get the ball here. And I think, just like I like the Bears, I like the Titans. I don't think the Colts have the firepower. This Titans defense has been very, very good so far this season. They're not being thrown on. I think the Colts would have a better chance if Flacco was in there. The receivers all take a downgrade with Richardson in the lineup right now. As fun and exciting as he is, he's not able to run the offense the way that Joe Flacco is. So I think the Titans control this game at home. I think they're able to be ahead, positive game script. So we see, right, 15 to 20 carries probably for Tony Pollard. So I like Ridley to be involved, over 47.5. On top of those, Levis over 198.5 passing yards. And then we like Tony Pollard over 64.5 rushing yards as well. Go to another game here that we like. Cardinals, Packers. I think, Connor will be able to run the football. I like Kyler and Jordan Love in this matchup. I think you're going to see a lot of points there too. Don't have any official plays really on that game. Saints, Buccaneers. I think you got to target Chris Olave here. I know it's Spencer Rattler, but listen, this Buccaneers defense, you can throw the football on them. We're getting Olave here at 49.5 yards. Listen, they played the Chiefs last week, right? They played the Chiefs who have locked up receivers. They didn't really target him. They let the Chiefs, if you will, take him out of the game. They just tried to go elsewhere, but I don't think you'll see that. The 3 games prior to that, he was involved, 80-plus yards. And Spencer Rattler, he's going to want to throw the ball to Chris Olave. Like, get the ball to your best player. I think that's going to be a strategy that he uses in this game. I think he's going to look for Olave. Maybe it's 12, 13 targets, and he only has 5 or 6 catches, but he is going to be heavily involved. And don't forget, they're playing the Buccaneers, who have not been good against wide receivers. They give up a ton of yards as well. You look at this team, right? They're 6th in yards allowed, 879 yards allowed, third most receptions, 82. You can throw on them. I know they're going to blitz Rattler. I know they're going to come at him in different ways, but he's not being thrown into this offense mid-game. They've had a week to give him a game plan. They've had a week to show him where you can expose the Buccaneers defense. Chris Olave is that guy. I know the numbers in fantasy were disappointed, but you watch him run the routes, you watch him get open. He is insanely skilled, insanely talented. He will get open in this game. And I just think we have to buy low on a 49.5 number for an all-pro type receiver in Chris Olave. So I'm going to take that all day. Give me Olave over 49.5. I like Kate Otten on the other side. Saints have been pretty susceptible to tight ends as well. I think Otten gets involved. We know with Marshawn Lattimore in the game that Mike Evans has struggled before, so it should be a Godwin game as well, but don't really have much action there on the Buccaneers. Move over to the Texans and the Patriots. Drake May's making his debut, right? I think Tank Dell's able to really get involved for Houston. I don't have official plays on that side of the football, but Drake May, I like the rushing yards. It was at 25.5. It's moved up to 27.5. I still like it. This guy can use his legs. He ran a ton in college. We see rookie quarterbacks use their legs. We've seen Bo Nix do it. Obviously, we've seen Jaden Daniels do it. Caleb Williams can do it. He's been very good at staying in the pocket. I think the Patriots probably run some designed runs for Drake May as well. So I think over 27.5, not a bad look at all. And the Texans actually giving up a good amount of yardage to quarterbacks on the ground. Pull it up here. Fifth most at 159. So Drake May, why not tuck the ball and run? You'll probably get a lot of dump off to Antonio Gibson. It's going to be a little bit jittery, but I think he's going to take off and run a few times. And on top of that play with Drake May, we'll pull it up here just to see 27.5 minus 120. I like an anytime touchdown for Drake May. I think if they're able to stay in the game, obviously his legs are going to have a lot to do with it. But even towards the end of the game, if Houston is able to take advantage and actually control this game, which I think will be tough to do on the road in New England. They haven't shown that they've been able to do that. Stroud hasn't really shown that he's been able to go outdoors on the road and be a top dog, although those were tougher matchups than this past defense of the Patriots. But I think New England finds a way to probably hang around. But even if they don't, I like Drake May at some point to have a designed run in the red zone. If they're down big late, he finds a way to run one in. It's at plus 375. So I just think that plus 370, it's gone down just a tiny bit. Why not sprinkle a little bit on Drake May in his first game to get in the end zone? But I like to play over 27.5 yards there for Drake May. I do expect Houston to win this game, but I just think, getting that many points on the road, tough place to play. The defense will be ready. Maybe they rally around May. I don't think this offense really can do much overall, but do expect May to use his legs to make things happen here. Commanders, Ravens. We talked about on Sub Home Slash. We talked about Zay Flowers. We talked about Terry McLaurin. Another guy like here, Zach Ertz. Baltimore Ravens have been just a great matchup when you look at the tight ends. Ertz is being heavily targeted. I know he only had 2 catches last week, but he was targeted 8 times. But Jaden Daniels likes to look his way, and Baltimore has been giving up plenty to the tight end. Third most receptions. I don't like the yards for Ertz because he's a guy that catches the ball and falls over. There's 0 yak involved in his game, although the Ravens give that up. But over 3.5 receptions for Zach Ertz, giving up, over 6 catches per game to the tight end position. If we go and look at Ertz, his line is set at 3.5. It's negative 115 on DraftKings. Of course, check your books, right? Any lines you can get the best line possible, because I believe this actually opened at maybe plus money in a lot of places. But negative 115, still a great number. Daniels likes to go his way. So as much as I like McLaurin to get involved, to get the deep shots, this game is going to have a lot of points on both sides of the ball. Baltimore has shown that they give up a lot of yards to the receivers. We've seen how good Jaden Daniels is. We've seen this Washington secondary just get absolutely burned, which is why we're all over Zay Flowers. They're going to feed Henry. No shock that Henry gets in the end zone. Not at all. But you want another sprinkle, I think we could look at Zach Ertz, right? Like the receptions, over 3.5, negative 115. He's had 4 targets in the red zone. He hasn't gotten in the end zone. He has 1 catch in the red zone. It wasn't inside of the end zone, but it was within the red zone area. And I think with the high over under, he's going to have his opportunities to be in the red zone here. So again, just like kind of the Drake May sprinkle, pull up Zach Ertz here, plus 425 for an anytime touchdown. I think Ertz sees 6 or more targets in this game easily. I wouldn't be surprised if it's upwards of double digits, just with the opportunity against this Ravens defense to use your tight end and how much we've seen Daniels target Zach Ertz, that he hits that 4 reception line and he gets an opportunity or 2 in the red zone. So at plus 425, I mean, I'm going to take that all day. Not mad at anybody, obviously, going, a Terry McLaurin touchdown. Even Rashad Bateman, right? 8 targets last week, plus 260. A little bit of bang up on the injury, so I'm hesitant. Plus Bateman, just a hard guy to trust. I mean, anytime he's one of those guys, anytime you think he might start to get involved, he disappoints. Zay Flowers, though, at plus 125. I mean, Derrick Henry, negative 275. I mean, it's automatic, right? Derrick Henry, David Montgomery, take it to the bank that these guys score a touchdown. And in this game with such a high over under, right? They're going to be in the red zone, 51.5 points. Henry's going to get his chances, right? So looking for a little more plus money, looking for a sprinkle, looking for a big hit. Why not go Zach Ertz there, plus 425? But like the over 3.5 receptions for Ertz. Looking at the Steelers and Raiders here, should probably be a pretty ugly game in Las Vegas. But I'm going to look at Aiden O'Connell. His pass attempts are set at 28.5, juiced to the over by a little bit. So the books expect him to throw, 29 times in this game. Steelers have the 4th most interceptions in all of football. O'Connell came in last week, threw a pick against Denver in 20 attempts. So I think if he's out there playing the whole game against Pittsburgh's defense, against Mike Tomlin, I think they dial it up enough where at some point in those 29 pass attempts, we're going to see an Aiden O'Connell interception. And it's at negative 120. You look at like Spencer Rattler, he's at negative 170. Deshaun Watson, I believe, is right around negative 170. I think you can argue, right, that there's a good chance if there's 30 pass attempts in this game that against a turnover team in Pittsburgh, that Aiden O'Connell's got a good chance of throwing a pick. There's no Devontae Adams. There's no Jacoby Myers. Going to throw the ball 29 times. I see an interception. I think the number is real nice at negative 120. I really thought this would be closer to probably negative 150, a little more of a obvious type play, if you will, by the books. He didn't throw any interceptions in his last, I think it was 4 starts last year, or when he came in the game. So overall, he's protected the football, but this will be his, first official start. Pittsburgh's defense, very good. Expecting a lot of attempts. I just think we're going to see an interception in this game. And that number for me, too good to pass up. So give me Aiden O'Connell, 1 interception. Let's take that all day. Chargers Broncos, another ugly contest here with an over-under of 35.5. No shock if this game goes under. Both these defenses, right? They are 1 and 2 in defensive EPA. They do not give up a lot of yards. Denver, you can run on them a bit, but teams have not really tried to expose that. We'll see if Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers run heavy offense try to do so. My play on this game that I really like is Javonte Williams in the pass game. Quietly, Javonte Williams has gotten involved in this offense. He is the running back that's out there over 60+% of the time. He's over getting the reception yards for running backs. He gets the target share. He gets the reception yards. 86% of the reception yards are going to him. The way to attack this Chargers team is they get a lot of targets towards the running back. They contain the yards, but if you look at receptions per game against the running back, they give those up, right? The Chargers had a bye, so when I pull this up, we're going to see that reception base, go down here, 25 catches in 4 games, little more than 6 per game. So really that would put them up here about top 5, top 6 in receptions if they played a 5th game based on what we've seen. And Javonte's had 5 catches in multiple games. He's been over this number in 1 other game, and we've seen his usage go up. So I know Estime is back. They activated him. I don't know how much we'll see of him. We're seeing Jaleel get a target, maybe 2 at most in these games. So Chargers going to bring the heat, man. I think Bosa's probably out again, but Mac will be out there. This Broncos offensive line is banged up. So I think we're going to see Knicks want to dump the ball off to Javonte. Over 2.5 receptions for him. Probably the heaviest juice play I got. Most of the things we got here were right. -110, -120, the plus money type TD plays. But Javonte, -155. I'm okay with the juice here. I played this with the under 36.5 on a little 2-leg, try to get it, some plus money. But I'm confident that Javonte gets 3 catches in this matchup. Offenses are just throwing the ball to running backs against the Chargers. They're not attacking them as much downfield. The defense is good. The blitzes will be there. The offensive line is banged up, like I said. So I like Javonte over 2.5. I think this game is going to be very low scoring. Most people that know me know that I am a Charger fan. We'll see if they can win this game. They've lost 8 straight in the division. I think they're the better football team, but that doesn't always mean anything. So who knows if they'll be able to get it done, but I do lean the Chargers here. Man, Lions, Cowboys, talked about David Montgomery. Pull up the anytime touchdown scores. -165, a lot less than David, but I think you can confidently take that to the bank. I mean, he gets in every week. The amount of points that are going to be scored in this game, we've seen Dallas easily able to run the football. I mean, going Montgomery and Gibbs, I'm not mad at you. It's hard not to. CeeDee Lamb, I think, should get in the end zone here. Rico Dowdle might be sneaky. I don't think he has a great game with Detroit's run defense, but the amount of times that Detroit could be in the red zone and how he is being used now as the primary running back, he may get his look. So plus money, it's worth a look. I'm not playing that. I actually don't have an anytime touchdown for anybody in this game. It's hard to know. Like everybody should go off, right? Gibbs, Montgomery, Laporta, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, even Jalen Tolbert who came on, Ferguson. I think everybody in the passing game is going to get used in this game. So I haven't laid anything except for what we had on Sub Home Slice. We hammered CeeDee Lamb over 81.5 on Thursday afternoon. It's now going into Sunday, and I think that line for CeeDee Lamb has moved from 81.5. I think it's 87. 88.5. That line has moved 7 yards since Thursday afternoon. That's why you got to tune into Sub Home Slice. That's why you got to turn the noties on, because we try to get these plays out early in the week. I try to drop them on my timeline when they come out, because the books, they see it, right? Everybody goes on these numbers, right? They see the same matchups that we're looking at here. They see the same, yardage and stats that we're looking at here. And 81.5 on Thursday when we gave it out was a 2-unit play, a stuffed crust smash. CeeDee Lamb, I think, has a monster game. And I think Dak's able to throw the ball. I think if you want a juicy play for this game, Dak's yards are, I think it's 282.5. I wouldn't mind sprinkling Dak over 325. He threw for over 340 last year against this Lions team. We've seen Matthew Stafford and I'm drawing a blank on who the Lions last played, but 2 games, 2 guys have gone over 300 plus yards. And I don't think the Cowboys can run the football, right? We've seen their issue running the ball. I know, like I said, Dowdle's going to be the guy. He's been involved. It's not Zeke. It is Dowdle. They've progressively moved more and more to him, but Detroit's not going to let you run the football. And Detroit's going to score. So plus 255 over 325. I like that. Dak's touchdowns over 1.5, pretty juiced, but I think you can probably safely play a 2-touchdown game for Dak here. If not, it's going to be a long day for the Cowboys. Goff, -115. Probably wouldn't play it, because I wouldn't be surprised if Goff's able to throw the ball a ton, but when they get in the red zone, we've seen Dan Campbell, right? Flexes those muscles on the sideline. To me, that means we're running the football, and I think you'll see that. So that's why back to Montgomery and Gibbs. No issue with a touchdown on either one of those guys. Lions probably find a way to pull this game out, but we'll see. Cowboys at home. Maybe they find a way to score enough points, get it done. Let's go Falcons, Panthers here. Falcons coming off a big win. -6 right here on the spread. -6. I don't know, man. This is going to be a sneaky play for the Panthers. Plus 210. I do have the +6 for the Panthers on a couple looks. I just think that the Falcons are coming off a huge win the week before that. We saw them struggle more against the Saints. I think this Panthers team smashed the Raiders, hung around the Bengals. Last week was a tough matchup against the Bears. I would not be surprised if this game is close, but we're going to see points. And we're going to see points on both sides of the football because the Panthers cannot stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Every quarterback they've seen has had 2 touchdowns in each game. Bijan is out there. Algier's out there. They're going to run the football. And I like Tyler Algier. I think we're all waiting for Bijan to have that breakout game, but he still seems to be hobbled by the injury. And if you're the Falcons, you're not going to keep putting him out there to be the volume guy when you have Algier, a capable running back who before they brought him in was running the football extremely well. And I think there's 2 things in this game that the Falcons do get up and they are able to stay up if they can keep the Panthers down. But I do think the Panthers put up points too at some point, even if it's late, if it's throughout the game. But so we're looking at a positive game script or at least something back and forth. And the Panthers have not been able to stop the run. So Tyler Algier, I think, gets plenty of work in this game. Over 38.5 yards at -125. I love the look there for Algier. And on top of that, I think an anytime touchdown for Algier is the way to go too. He's going to get some work. We're going to see a lot of points. I think the Falcons have a chance to get, 26 plus points in this matchup. They're going to be in the red zone. Bijan -140, Algier plus 145. And if they are winning this game, if you think the Falcons take control and have that positive great game script, even more reason for Algier to get late carries and the Falcons to continue to kind of ease Bijan, right? Rest Bijan when they can. That seems to be the philosophy. He popped up on the injury report again. So why wouldn't they do the same thing? On the flip side of the ball, the Falcons cannot get to the quarterback. You give Andy Dalton time. He's able to deliver. I know last week was awful, but Chicago has been great. This Falcons team has shown that you can throw the ball on them. They can give up big plays. I think you see a bounce back game for Deontay. I think Andy Dalton's right around this passing yards numbers. I think he's able to throw for 200 to 230. I'm not touching the line here. But if the Falcons score the way they should, whether this game is close or not, Andy Dalton's going to get back and forth or garbage yards late in this game against the Falcons pass defense that, like I said, they don't get to the quarterback. Carolina's going to be able to keep Dalton upright. 2 passing touchdowns at plus 150. Definitely intriguing. Not playing that, but they use Chuba a lot. I think if they are in the red zone, Chuba should have a good game here too. Atlanta's defense has been nothing special, but I'll go back to Deontay Johnson, right? I think that there's no issue with Deontay here. Dalton was feeding him. Don't be deterred by last game. The Bears were a tough matchup. The NFL is a week-to-week league. We cannot just carry over what we see. I think the books are giving the Falcons a little too much credit for the win they had and how bad the Panthers got beat. Maybe I'm wrong, but I still think this is a high-scoring game regardless. Even if it's the Panthers getting it late in garbage time, I still like it either way. So Deontay Johnson, I believe it's 61.5 on the receiving yards. I know they're getting Xavier Legette back. There weren't any lines on him before. There still probably aren't. There we go. Legette is in here now. 39.5. I'm not mad at it. We saw Legette get involved 2 weeks ago. I think you could see him too. I mean, if Dalton throws for, 215, it's got to go to somebody, but I think it's going to be Deontay. He's going to have the time. Deontay, one of the best route runners in the NFL. So give me over 61.5 at -115. And not mad at the receptions either, right? Plus money. If you want to go over 5.5, take that. I think either way, Deontay probably hits both those lines, in my opinion. But I like those plays. And like I said, I'm not afraid to lay the 6 here on the Panthers side because I just think that at home in a division game, big win for the Falcons, horrible loss for the Panthers, matchup that Dalton can have some success. I would not be surprised if they hang around. Their defense is so bad, though. Falcons come to play, they could put up 40, right? So be a little leery, but hey, this is the NFL. We see it every single week. I think if you're looking for a spot to sprinkle, Carolina might be the one. And Bengals Giants, again, I think we see a lot of offense here. Wandale, Darius Slayton, Tyrone Tracy, all good plays across the board. Didn't lay anything on those lines. Interesting that Neighbors is out. 2 weeks off that concussion, man. That's a surprise for a concussion play. Expect Burrow to be able to throw the ball on this Giants team. Get a mix of Moss and Chase Brown. Not sure who's going to get the majority of the work. Both guys were questionable, but both going to play. Should see plenty of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think they both have big games. I don't have any official plays on either side of these, but I do expect Danny Dimes to still have a good game. He's been more than effective. This Bengals defense has been less than stellar. So I think you can confidently, look to those guys if you like something there, but nothing official for me. And Jets Bills, back to targeting running backs. I think this is the week that Breece Hall has some success. I do like the Jets here too, getting plus money on the money line at home with how good their defense has been, with Josh Allen coming off of a bad game. Had the issue, wasn't concussed, but clearly looked like something was wrong. Is he 100%? Khalil Shakir probably going to miss this game. James Cook hurting as well. We'll see how much he's out there. Jets defense been really good. And I think you see a lot of Breece Hall in this game through the passing game. Buffalo, again, another team that has been very susceptible in that market. 36 catches, the most in the league for opposing running backs. 312 yards, the most in the league for opposing running backs. Breece Hall has been very disappointing, but they've got to get him going. You could argue Buffalo's run defense is the strong suit, although I think if the Jets are able to put up some points, they'll be able to run the football too. And we talked about in the beginning, the best way to offset getting that pressure, taking some pressure off your offensive line, use that screen game. So get the ball in Breece Hall's hand, man. We talked about it so much last year. Get the ball into the best player's hands. That's Breece Hall in the passing game. Open everything up for everybody else, right? For Garrett Wilson, for Lazard, for Conklin, for Rodgers to have some time back there because he needs that time, right? Green Bay gave him time with an offensive line. The Jets have struggled to do that, but Buffalo isn't exactly bringing a lot of pressure here. So I think we see Breece Hall, though, have some success like almost every running back has had against Buffalo in the passing game. So over 25 and a half reception yards, Breece Hall, and the Jets money line. Like I said, plus money at home for a team that needs a win against a reeling Buffalo Bills team that's not healthy, that's been able to contain quarterbacks in the passing game. I just think that the Jets, this is a good spot. I'm shocked, really, as disappointing as they've been, that they're plus money at home in this matchup. Really thought they'd probably be at least a pick 'em or getting, the 2.5, 3 points that the books give the home team. But here we are, plus money. I'm on the Jets this week. So there we go, man. Like I said, I love the Jets here. I love Breece Hall, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, Aiden O'Connell to throw a pick. We're going to Chris Olave, Zach Ertz over 3.5 catches. Sprinkle that plus money on Zach Ertz anytime TD. Drake May over 27.5 rushing yards. Sprinkle maybe the anytime TD there. If you're watching that early game, DeAndre Swift over 20.5 yards. And like the Bears there too. Tennessee Titans like the money line there. Those money lines, Bears are a pick 'em. So if you see this, hey, I like the Bears tomorrow in London. I know it's Jacksonville's home stadium, if you will, right? They play there every season, but the Jags just aren't good. I think the Bears are clicking a little bit on offense. So give me the Bears to win that game on a pick 'em. Titans money line, a little more juiced. I think it's like negative 155, but I think the Titans play a good game at home, find a way to win. So yeah, Bears money line, Titans money line, Jets money line at plus money, DeAndre Swift over 20.5 reception yards, Calvin Ridley over 47.5 receiving yards, Tony Pollard over 64.5 rushing yards, Drake May over 27.5 on the ground, Zach Ertz over 3.5 receptions. Give me a sprinkle on an anytime TD for Drake May and Zach Ertz. Let's go Chris Olave over 49.5 reception yards, Aiden O'Connell to throw an interception, and Javonte Williams over 2.5 receptions in that Charger Bronco game. There you go. Best of luck to you. Remember, bet only what you can afford to lose. Appreciate y'all joining me. I'll be back next week for some more plays. Don't forget, sportsaffiliation.com. We've got the weekly newsletter up there every single week. Injuries, waiver wires, matchups, Thursday night bets, Sunday bets. We got Sub Home Slice on Thursdays, 4 o'clock Eastern with at IDP Iggy and myself. Hop on there. We're always giving out Thursday night plays and our weekly plays, talking fantasy as well. We've got our Thursday check down that night. We've got game changers during the week on Wednesday with Carla. All kinds of good stuff, man. Tip and Greg answering questions on a Q&A that they drop on Thursday afternoon. Watch parties on Monday night and Thursday night football. So check out the website, sportsaffiliation.com. Like and subscribe to the YouTube. Share the video, comment, ask questions. Hit us up on X. You can find me at SoCal Ball Nerd or at the Sports of Philly. Always available to you. Always here to help. Love talking football. All right, I will see you all next week. And with that, let's go.